Yesterday we celebrated the 50th anniversary of the Selma March, Selma to Montgomery. It was a very important moment in African American history where a group of young 25-year-old individuals decided to walk across the Pettus Bridge, they called it. And they were met by police officers, state troopers at the time, who beat them. One of the young men died, and it just sent shockwaves throughout the entire country. And it was a moment when America had to look at itself and come to a clarity of what direction they would go into. And I'm sure Jay Gold, our district leader, and Dr. Eugene would tell you how important it was for us. And when the march took place, and 3 days later, they continued. In spite of what they went through, they continued to move forward. And they were successful. And that action took a stone out of the wall of segregation. And it led us on a pathway where people can be included in American life. They can actually participate in the American dream and not wake up to the nightmare of being an outsider. And so this moment here of announcing the Urdu language and how important it is, this is your Selma moment. This is a moment where we've had names that you may know of Dr. King, but there were others like Congressman Lewis and mothers and fathers who were not the main stars of the movement. They were the co-stars and sometimes the supporting cast. But when you are able to open a school and a program that allows people to understand how important it is that your children learn a language so they can communicate with their parents and allow their parents to communicate with the outside, then what you are doing, you are crossing your own Pettus Bridge. You are stepping over to the other side. One side of the bridge means you were going to be excluded and relegated to an insignificant place in American society. But when you go through those difficult times, when you go through maybe not the billy clubs of yesteryears, but you're going through the billy clubs of those that don't understand how the language is important. When you're willing to just keep pressing on, when you're willing to not allow the symptoms of fear to stymie you, but allow it to motivate you. It says so much. And things of greatness in our country were not done in big places. They were done in small places like this. Mm-hmm. People organize on a level. And so you should continue the pathway that was taken 50 years ago and duplicate the same methods that were used by other generations and other groups. There's nothing new here. There is a clear recipe for inclusion in America, and everyone has done it, from African American to Chinese to Jewish to Portuguese to Indonesian, and now it's your turn. And you can't do it without great leaders who are committed. They're not doing things because they're motivated by greed. They're motivated by the right things to do, and that's what you accomplish and what you are doing. You are our Dr. King and our Rosa Parks. You are the leaders that your young people will be able to look down on and see how important it is to accomplish. And it's amazing when you think about it, because with everything that goes on, so many people attempt to pull us away from each other, but there are those of us that realize that we are all here together. One Brooklyn. I said that for a reason. And no matter how many would try to make us not be one Brooklyn, we're not going to allow that to happen. And one Brooklyn does not mean we have to all speak the same language. Doesn't not mean we have to all dress the same way. Doesn't mean we have to all eat the same food, or we all have to walk on the same block and live in the whole same house. It means we have a fundamental understanding that we should be able to raise healthy children and families free from persecution or prosecution because we want to carry out our way of life. That is what One Brooklyn means and what it ought to be and what it's going to be as I'm the borough president and as I move our borough forward in the right direction. So this is an important moment, but it's not the last one. It's just one stone that you have taken out of the wall of segregation. It's not going to be complete until the stone that prevents your woman from wearing their hijab and go free from harassment. It's not going to be the entire dismantling to the language will be embraced and people will respect it. It's not going to be the complete dismantling of the wall until you can walk up and down and go into your mosque and be able to worship without wondering if someone standing next to you is a member of the police department trying to infiltrate you from just being able to worship in peace. The wall is not going to be dismantled and people are going to treat you differently based on your religion. We must take down the entire wall. We cannot be happy with one stone. We were not happy with one stone in 1965 when we crossed the Pettis Bridge. We're not going to be happy with one stone here in 2015 in Brooklyn. We want the entire wall down, that you're able to live and raise your children like every other America wants to be. You do not have to be denied that right. And so that's why we're here. That's why Dr. Eugene and Jay have come out, and no one has been a more formidable leader and voice from your community, because as you move in government, as you move forward, as you start the process, before we can elect someone from the Pakistani community to represent you on the city or the state level, you need a voice there that's compassionate, that can understand and articulate your issues. And no one has done it better than Dr. Eugene in the city council. He has been a friend of this community, and although you don't have a Pakistani city council, you have an adopted Pakistani city council. And that's what it's about. And it charges you. Because it's only a matter of time before you're going to mobilize the power of the vote, before you're going to mobilize your voices, before you're going to mobilize the strength of the business community you have here. And eventually you're going to move and you're going to elect your own elected officials that's going to look like you and speak your same language. You're going to do that. But remember these moments, because there's another group that is waiting, holding on to an application, hoping they can come here and be a part of the American dream. There's another group out there that's waiting to fly over the Statue of Liberty in hopes that they can raise their families here. So when you make a full acclamation into American society, do not look down at them. Don't pull the ladder up and leave them waiting to climb up there. Go with the same compassion and passion that you have for Urdu, and passion and compassion that you have for others. Let's bring them forward. That's when America is going to be the America that I know it could be. We're better than what we're showing, but I know we're on the right direction to be who and what we ought to be. Thank you, and I thank all of us. Let's keep pressing forward. Thank you very much.
The most difficult thing to conclude this session, our today program. So I request